Okay, so here we are in the data gathering and sampling. So class, it's very important that we have instruments in gathering data. It's because we cannot gather the information that we needed in our study without the help of instruments. So what are these instruments? Is it like guitar or a piano? What do you mean by instruments? Instruments class in statistics or in gathering informations are these questionnaires. If you want to interview, you'll have your interview guide questions. If you have your checklist for your observation method. Okay? What are those things that you want to observe? Or if, for example, you are having the registration method, so of course you'll have the form, okay, where the applicant or the respondent will fill out the information that you needed. So these are class called instruments. Now, let us talk about features of a good questionnaire. Okay, we will only tackle the instrument which is a questionnaire. So of course, class, anyone can make a questionnaire. By the way, questionnaire is defined as a list of questions, okay, prepared questions that these questions, of course, is your way or method on how to gather information from your respondents. Now, good questionnaire. So because class, why do we call it good questionnaire? Because there are questionnaires that are just questions, okay? Although it contains questions, but of course we need to have um, somewhat there are features that is needed to be there. There is somewhat, not really a format, but characteristics that is needed for us, that using the questionnaires it will be a successful gathering of data. Okay, so of course in making a questionnaire, okay, so we need to remember that the instructions should be short and clear. Very important. Um, have you ever answered some questionnaire, like for example in an exam? Okay, your instructor gives you an exam. Of course, there's a general instruction. Encircle the answer that corresponds to the encircle the letter that corresponds to the correct answer. That's the instruction. But then, since you, the student, didn't read the instructions carefully, so what they did is you put a rectangle on it, or you just tick it. Okay, so class, is very important that at the start of your questionnaire there should be an instruction on how will the respondent answer your question. Of course, should they encircle it? Should they check this? Should they write a paragraph or a short answer, or what? Okay, and your instruction should be short only and should be clear. Okay, there are instructions that are too long that the respondents cannot understand it already, or it could give them confusion. So you should express, or you tell your instructions short only, and of course it should be clear. Simple class, simple and clear, and should be precise. Okay, because not all your respondents are what do you call this, literate. There are respondents that don't know how to understand English, deep English. Okay, so you need to use only simple and precise instructions. The language should be very simple, that that anyone or any informant can easily understand. Another, your questionnaire should use correct grammars. Very important. So grammars, of course, it should, the words that you need to use, of course, should ensure validity because there are words that gives different meaning when you use or when you use it to other terms. Okay, so very important that you check your grammar, of course. Another is objective questions. Like for example, in your exam, your instructor will say, okay, we'll be having objective quiz or objective type exam tomorrow. So what does it mean? It means that the questions has only one answer. Do you get my point? Like for example, objective type questions is multiple choice, or it could be a true or false, identification, something like that. Okay? So therefore, your questions should also be like that. That it can be answered by yes or no, or true or false, or maybe yes or no. Okay? Very important. Another is simplified questions. Like I've said, you have to use a simple, aside from the instructions, of course, that your instructions should be simple and clear. Your questions also must be simple. Maybe you'll ask a technical question. Well, that is not applicable. What if that question is not applicable to your respondents, or maybe your respondent is not literate, that he will not understand that technical term that you are using. So it's very important that you use also simple questions, simplified. Another is unequivocal questions. What does this mean? Unequivocal class, or this what we call unambiguous questions. Okay? We should avoid. You should avoid unequivocal questions or unambiguous questions. Okay? These are questions that are complicated and long-worded. These are questions that irritate the responses. And what will happen? Of course, the respondent, instead of answering it correctly, so they will reply carelessly. Okay? Instead of, it's because what they will think, what kind of question is this? Something like that. So instead of giving their right answers or their correct opinion, then they will give you somewhat careless answer, right? And that of course will give you incorrect information also. So you need to avoid such questions. Another is related questions. Of course, class, the questions that you should be asking must be related to your study. Like for example, your study is, you want to know the favorite Filipino snack of let's say you want to know the favorite Filipino snack, okay, or the preferred snack of, let's say, students. So since your topic is preferred snacks of students, so of course your questions must be what is your preferred drinks, what is your preferred um, um, like say for example food, like that. You shouldn't involve questions that are not related. Like for example, what is your favorite color? Right? What's the connection of the favorite color in the preferred snack? Maybe there's a connection for others, but in general there's no connection. Okay, so you should not include such questions. Another is affirmative questions. Your questions must be positive, of course. You shouldn't involve questions that are give negativity, something like that. Okay, what else? Questions are grouped in logical sequence. Sequence means the thought is how do you describe this? Grouped. Or let's say for example, in the first part you are asking for, let's say, preferred snacks, and then in second preferred drinks, for example, and then in the second part let's say you want to ask about the preferred drinks, food, something like that. And then in the last part, you want to know their or the things that make them want those foods. Okay, so let's say you have that sequence. So if for example you have already asked question about their favorite drink on the first part, so you shouldn't ask another question that is related to drinks on the part 3. Do you get my point? You shouldn't rumble the questions. You should group them, okay, in logical sequence. And another is anonymous respondents. It's very important, class, that you need to give the respondents the option to become anonymous. Okay? Because there are people that don't want exposure, not really exposure, but they don't want, or they need, or they want confidentiality about the information that you are asking them. Especially if your topic is um, very, what do you call this? Um, private. Or let's say, for example, you are talking about, or you are asking information about sickness, for example. So there are people that don't want other people to know also. So if you have observed, some questionnaires have um, they have their name, but they are putting optional, which means that the respondents is not required to fill out that part, especially the name. Okay, and class, also the anonymity of the respondents is very important. It's because if you require their personal details like the name, they will be hesitant to give information. We observe that. It's because they will think, oh, this person will know me. So if I give my true answers, so he will know now. Like for example, if you ask your sickness or your illness, or for example your favorite hobby, or any private information. So the person that you are asking, or you are trying to interview, or maybe you give questionnaire to, will become hesitant. So instead of giving the true answers or the true information, so it might be that he gives you wrong answer. It's because you have asked also for his personal details. Unlike if you won't require their name, so they are free to give information, because they will think, oh, okay, it's fine that I give information because this person doesn't know who am I. Okay, so that's why very important that you provide, or you allow your respondents to be anonymous. Okay, so that's it for the features of a good questionnaire. Now, how to construct questionnaire. So when you say steps, it should be what? It should be in order, of course. Okay, and the first step is to search. Search for what, class? We have to search for, of course, questions that are related, of course, to your topic. It may be that you search from the previous what do you call this? Previous studies, maybe from the library, or maybe you could search from the internet, because class, constructing a questionnaire is hard, in a way that, of course, how are you going to construct a sentence that could give you this answer? Okay, it's very hard to especially that you have to express it simple way. So you have really to search for reference, of course. Not really that you will copy the question itself, but you are trying to get an idea, okay, on how you will construct yours too. So you have to search for the same search or study, even if from the internet or maybe from the library. After searching, of course, you will consult first. Consult experts, of course. If this question is okay, do you get it? Because like I said, there are questions that um, it should be objective type. Maybe this type of question is, it could give an impression to the reader or to the respondent that you are asking for a subjective answer, but you really have to consult the expert. Is my question okay? How do you interpret this question? So if your consultant gives you an answer that is appropriate to your study, then that's okay. Okay, after consulting, of course, you will now start creating. So if your questions that you have, of course, it's still on a draft mode. It's not yet final. So you have to create now your own question based from the idea that you have searched and based from what the consultant said. After creating, of course, you have to write it in the format already. You have your question and what answer do you want, what response do you want. Okay, you have to present it already, write it. Of course, after writing, so there will be editing to on how you will present it. Okay, how will it look like after editing? Okay. By the way, class, after writing, of course, you have you have to check, of course, your work, the questions. Is this question, or will this question give me the information that I am trying to get from the respondents? So if, for example, there is some changes, or maybe there are things that you have to add, okay, you have to remove, then that's the time that you will edit it. After editing, you will rewrite it, of course. So after rewriting and checking if it's okay now, then you have to pre-test it. Pre-test means you have to test your questionnaire. Okay, it's not the actual survey already, but it is somewhat, you only pick, let's say you have the population or you have the sample, let's say 100. Okay, so you only pick, let's say 5 to test your questionnaire. Okay, you don't have to give it to all your sample, but you only get, let's say 5 persons to test your questionnaire, if they can understand it, or by looking at it, can they able to answer it, something like that. So after the pre-test and everything is okay, then you finally write your questionnaire. You finally give its final touch, and of course print it out, and then ready for distribution. Okay, so those are the steps that you need to construct a questionnaire. So it's not that simple that you just think of question and then write it and then print it. No, of course you have to really check if the questions are appropriate. Now, in questionnaire class, so not just the questionnaire that you are giving or distributing to your respondents. Okay? Uy. It's very important that you also include a cover letter. Okay? A cover letter, class, is somewhat your what do you call this? An information that tells your respondents on your study. Okay? The cover letter tells your respondents why you are conducting the study, the reason, okay? And of course, you have to include in your study, in your cover letter, that or when you need that response. Okay, you have to specify in the cover letter the information of your of the date, of course, the date, when to send it back. Okay, and you also have to tell there in the cover letter that their response is very is expected, of course, that you are expecting a return from them, and of course you have to say your thank you. Okay, you have to thank them for giving the opportunity to answer the response or the questionnaire. It's very important, class, is because maybe your respondents is from Manila or maybe from other places. So if you don't have such cover letter that explains why you are doing your study or why you are doing this questionnaire, then maybe once they receive the questionnaire, they will think, what am I going to do with this? Is this some kind of joke or what? What should I do with this? So if you don't specify in your cover letter that they have to send it back to you, then it could be that they will not give attention to it or they might ignore it. Okay, and if that happens, class, so your study might be at risk. Not really at risk, but of course you will be delayed. Okay, so the cover letter is somewhat um, um, your representative of talking to them, that somewhat, hello, I am, you have to tell, of course, your name or your group. I'll say, hello, I am engineer Ritubis. I am conducting a research about or a study about the preferred um, snacks of students. So I'm hoping that you participate in this. I have chosen you to participate in this study. So I'm expecting for you to return this in this date, so on and so forth. I'm extending my thanks, like for example, like that. I am thanking you in advance for answering these questions for me. Okay, something like that. Okay, that's the only way, class, that we can say our thank you to the respondents. It's because we're not paying them, right? We're not paying them. We don't give something in return. So it's the only way that we can, okay, we can um, say our thank you to them or gratitude to them. So again, it's very important, aside from the questionnaire, you include your cover letter.